OPPO's Reno 16 series has launched. So we have the Reno 16, which has a Snapdragon 7 Gen 4, 50 megapixel main camera, and 120 Hz AMOLED screen. And then our slightly more expensive Pro model has 144 Hz refresh rate with its screen, the Dimensity 8550, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and a 200 megapixel sensor as its main camera. That's the only difference. Otherwise, I mean, they look absolutely identical, as you can see. So in this comparison, I will cover benchmarks, battery life, charging time, and the difference in the cameras. So you can decide on which one to get of these two Reno 16 models, and you don't buy the wrong one. So what we get included with both phones is exactly the same. We have our Super VOOC charger, which is 80 watts maximum, SIM tray tool, Type A to Type C cable, which is white. Then you get a little bit of paperwork, so user guide and safety guide, and then this nice clear case. Flat screens, they don't have any curvature to them, which is good. There's no 2.5D glass. It's just completely flat. Well, a slight little edge to them. Both come with pre-installed screen protectors. Great. We both have that 50 megapixel, 100-degree field of view wide camera. Really good to have. And the non-Pro gets 120 Hz refresh versus 144. Trust me, you cannot pick up on that difference. If it's going from, say, 90 Hz to 144, yes, you'll see it, or 90 to 120, yeah, you can see that difference. But 144 to 120, yeah, it takes a little while to kind of notice that. RAM difference, so you get 8 gigabytes only with the non-Pro, 12 with our Pro model. And does that make it feel a little bit more fluid? Yes, the better chipset as well. So this one has the Dimensity 8550 versus Snapdragon 7 Gen 4. Still an okay chip, but not quite as powerful. This one's quite a bit more, as you see later, with benchmarks. So as I said, they both look identical. When you look at them now, you can see that, well, there's really no difference. So I'm keeping the non-Pro on the left, the Pro on the right. And this is why I've got the sticker on the back. Otherwise, I can't tell the difference. They really do look the same. Even though we've got 200 megapixel camera with the Pro, you can't see that difference at all. When you look at it, you've got to really have them side by side to see that, oh, the Pro camera, the lens in there for the main camera looks slightly wider. So 50 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel 3.5 times optical, and then those main cameras, 50 on the non-Pro, 200 on the Pro, and there'll be a camera comparison later on for that. And just looking here, you can see that we have a bit of a design. It's hard to see. Now, that design there, what it is like a sparkle on it, and it's a 3D design to it. It looks really good, and the white, I think, looks fantastic in them. So we've got optical fingerprint reader, exactly the same on both. So really, I don't need to go on any more. The build qualities are good. Down below, we've got our SIM tray, loudspeaker, metal frame on both. And there is an IR transmitter that is located at the very top. So if that's something you need, they both have that. You see those antenna lines. Now you get the same options with the screen resolution. So 2640 by 1216. And the difference being that the non-Pro tops out at 120 Hz and you get 144 Hz with our Pro model. And these screens in direct sunlight, they aren't that legible. Not the best I have seen. AMOLED, sure, but they do struggle a little bit. The screen protector doesn't help. They are both exactly the same in direct sunlight. I noticed that with our Reno 16, there's a little bit more bloatware, so a couple more games, but both of them do have a bit of bloat pre-installed. Doesn't take too long to uninstall that. And we got these big, large first updates here, which I've applied. And then there's been another update, which is very good to see. And taking a look at wildlife extreme test that I did, this shows us that the Pro model throttles a lot. So you can see the best score is very good. It's over double that of the non-Pro model. But look at the lowest loop. It is, in fact, worse on the more expensive, more powerful model, because of the throttling. Stability only 35%. That's very low compared to basically no throttling on the non-Pro version. So you get the same consistent performance. And this is why I say that sometimes in the UI, I've noticed that the non-Pro version has been a little bit more fluid than the Pro. Doesn't make sense, but then when you look at this, it does, because if you're gaming, you get out of that game, you go into the UI, you're going to get consistent performance, always the same with this, but with the Pro model, that's where you might see, oh, hang on, there was a bit of slowdown then. And this is why, because it has done a little bit of throttling there with it. Now, you see that temperatures got up to 45 degrees on the Pro model, 44 on the non-Pro, and the frame rate difference, yes, double the performance at the top, the peak, and then the lowest 9 here is better, the lowest frame rate on the non-Pro. So interesting results. Internal storage faster on the Pro model, but only just. In fact, well, the random reads is where you really see this difference. As you can see, that's the big one. And the random access will generally make a device normally feel faster, apps install quicker, apps load quicker. I can confirm that this does load faster, applications, games, things that are heavy, but as I said, not always the fastest in the UI. So Antutu, this is the version 11.1. You can see that there's a clear winner, a lot more powerful. The GPU especially, that's the big difference when it comes to the Pro version and the non-Pro. It's why at the end, you'll hear me say, if you game a lot, get the Pro model. You must get the Pro model if you intend to game quite a bit. Now, battery life, huge difference. And I can talk about why, because we have a 6700 milliamp hour battery in both of them, apparently. But my unit here, I believe, is slightly less. And it could be because I have a labeled test device, but it will vary from region, the battery capacity. So this is, I think, why. 144 hertz versus 120 took a bit of a toll, and the more powerful chipset resulted in this one running for 4 hours less, which is quite a difference there. So if you want the best battery life and you're not gaming, get the non-Pro version, because in my testing, it will turn out to last longer when you're doing at least demanding things. And it will make sense. And that is to do, of course, with the battery capacities. And even if it was the same, you're going to have worse battery life on the more powerful device because it's using and consuming more energy. So here you can see the battery capacities. There's a big difference. This is Antutu's measuring this. Just ignore that because it's often incorrect. It doesn't like the SuperVOOC charging too as well. But the device is fully charged, both of them at the exact same time. So 59 minutes to fully charge them. Not bad at all. So good, decent speed. And other things that I think are obvious, but I'll mention it anyway, just in case the question does pop up in the comments, and that is the haptics on both of them feels exactly the same. Call quality seems to be exactly the same. Loudspeaker is exactly the same, so I won't cover that, but just briefly mention it. Gaming performance as per what we saw with 3D Mark and Antutu. Yes, it's the Pro version. The Pro version is a lot better when it comes to gaming, something demanding like Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, those really graphically demanding games are going to be way more fluid and smoother on this model right here, the Pro model, and that was pretty obvious too because it has the better chipset. The graphics performance is way better than this. So the non-Pro version, I briefly tested it out. I saw a lot more choppiness with this model, so this is the one to get. Go Pro if you intend to game a lot, that's your thing, and if you don't, well, consider the cheaper model. So jumping over to video, they both have 50 megapixel, 100-degree field of view front-facing cameras. And you can see there's a difference in processing. The Pro model, which is on the right of the screen, to me looks a little bit better. And microphone quality, very, very similar there because, well, it's exactly the same as far as I can tell. That's because we're using the same microphones. But the differences we see in video, even though it's 4K 30 or 60 here, I think are down to the ISP with the chipset, so MediaTek or Qualcomm. Stepping outside now, you can see that, of course, it's changing, adapting to that, the auto exposure. And I think the front-facing cameras for this price point, mid-range phones here, not bad at all, and good to see the 4K 30 and 60 option with the front-facing cameras. We're not limited to just 1080p, which used to happen in the past with mid-range phones. So here, looking at our rear cameras, there is a difference, as you can see, in the colors, slightly different processing there. Again, down to the ISP with the chipset differences, I would say. And now let's go to the ultra-wide. So the ultra-wide is 4K 30 main camera, and zoom cameras, they're all 4K 30 and 60. There's no 4K 120, unfortunately, not even with the Pro model. Now the stabilization does tend to be quite good. I can see a few little jolts coming through, and I can go over to our 3.5 times optical zoom camera, 50 megapixels on both of them. We'll just take a look at the church tower here. So I've zoomed into that.
good option to have. And again, it is 4K 30 or 60. And then I can go here 7 times. There's a 7 times preset. You really don't want to be going over that, because if you do, it starts to get a little bit blocky, and I can see slight differences between them, but they are very, very similar.
All right, so clearly to me, video performance, yes, the Pro model is slightly better, but when it comes to photography, is the difference as big? Well, only really when looking at low light, we're going to see quite a bit of a difference. Get a bit more contrast, but slightly clearer and less noise with the Pro model, as you can see from the examples I'm showing you. When it comes to the stills, not only is it megapixel count, there's a slight difference with the focal length equivalent. So 24mm with the Pro, 26mm with the non-Pro. Shadows handled differently, much brighter with the non-Pro model, which some people may prefer. Now zoom between them, this is 3.5 times optical, and then on to the 7 times preset. You can see the difference is really the colors more bluer with the Pro model, and here slightly more saturated with the Pro model. The colors, I think the normal model was a little bit more true to life here. And again, different processing with this, including color science with portrait photo, but they are quite similar. And a portrait shot of Vera, you can see with animals, it doesn't quite do the stitching as well as humans, which is pretty much normal there. Note the background blur, even though I set it to be the same, does look to be quite different between the Pro and the non-Pro. And then our white balance seems to have a bit of a green tint to it with Vera's fur, the white fur. And ultra wide finally, so both 50 megapixels, both of them are 15mm focal length equivalent, and they really do look the same. The only difference is, again, what I've been seeing, slight difference between the colors, the contrast, and the shadows being brighter on the non-Pro version. In fact, the non-Pro version, I think, took the best ultra-wide shot, which I'm showing you now. So as you saw there, they are really, really similar. Now, my pick would be that if you don't intend to game or you're not a big gamer, get the cheaper Reno 16. There's really not much of a difference in the 50 megapixel camera compared to the 200 megapixel camera we get with the Pro model. Only difference that I can really tell is that the low light performance is fractionally, marginally better with the Pro model. There were some surprises there, and there were some, well, not surprises at all. And that is the charge time was exactly the same because it's 80-watt super VOOC charging, and the battery life being slightly less on the Pro model because it's got a more powerful chipset does make sense, and it has a slightly higher refresh rate. That difference of just 24 hertz makes a little bit of a difference to the battery life. So best battery life, and overall, I think the best phone is the Reno 16. It's cheaper too. But then, on the other hand, if you intend to game a lot, that is really the only reason for the performance to go for our Reno 16 Pro. Now, both of these are really nice phones. You get Color OS, which is a great OS, one of my favorites when it comes to the skins for the UI for Android 16. And thank you so much for watching this detailed comparison of the OPPO Reno 16 series.